Heavy Cardboard is brought to you by the great folks over at GameSurplus.com, bringing the world of board games to you. Heavy Cardboard, episode 84, Laboring and Gaming. Coming to you from the infirmary that apparently is Denver, Colorado. Welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk medium and heavy strategy board games, war games, 18xx, and other related topics in the board gaming hobby. We're your hosts. I'm Edward.
And I'm Amanda.
How am I still sick?
I don't know.
Sick again? Or
I think it's more sick again than anything.
Do you?
I do.
I wonder whether, because I felt fine for a few days.
Yeah.
And I feel like a truck has just run me over. I am just run down. I'm still, literally, okay, maybe not literally, but figuratively, it feels like Davis is sitting on my chest.
Goodness.
And I've been coughing and miserable. This sucks, man.
I think you got over the con crud and then you went and played poker, and I think somebody sneezed on you or something there.
Well,
and you got it. I don't know if it just made it worse. You weren't completely over it and it made it worse or what, but
I thought I was.
This feels like a different sickness to me, just the way that you're acting, than the first time.
Yeah, you might be right. Oddly, though, we're still able to get quite a bit of gaming in, because even though I'm hacking, and coughing left and right, and, I'm weak on my feet, I'm fine if I'm sitting down or laying down. So we actually went to BCon, / Conclave of Gamers, which is a local con for us here in Denver.
Yep.
Plus, it's run by some friends of ours, Sean Brown, and our buddy Chad, who lives in our neighborhood.
Yep.
And so we wanted to go and support them, even though maybe not feeling the best, but whatever. You do what you got to do for friends, right?
Neither one of us were really up to speed, but we went anyway. And you stayed a lot longer than I did. You are much more of a trooper than me. I came home and stayed in bed for the rest of the day.
Because allergies were killing you.
Oh my gosh. I still want to claw my face off, but I'm not going to, because everybody keeps telling me not to, which I'm not quite sure why, because I would feel better.
But I don't think it would. No, please, no. That said, it was a really good time. I got a chance to see Mark Streed from Board Game Corner.
Yeah.
I met Richard Launius, the designer of Arkham Horror and Eldritch Horror and all these others. And we had actually a pretty cool little conversation about how, he appreciates what it is that we do for the hobby. And I appreciate what he's done for the hobby.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
His designing, even though obviously his games don't interest us at all. There are plenty of folks out there who love his games, and the hobby is better for it, and I think that's amazing. How awesome is this hobby to where he enjoys a lot of theme and a lot of luck, which he told me.
Yep.
And he says, obviously, that's not so much where you guys come in.
I just think it's awesome that that much of a polar opposite of people, like what they like and everything, it's still the same hobby. We still
share a love for this hobby, even though it falls in a different spectrum within the hobby, right? Or niche within.
Right. One side's on the red side of the spectrum, the other side's on the purple side of the spectrum.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. We got to see a bunch of friends, locals, obviously, who it's funny, we'll travel to different cons around the world
and stay with the same people,
or not just, more or less just see folks like Chris or whoever, all these locals that we'll see at various cons. Hey, good thing we traveled all the way around the country,
because we literally, there's definitely people that live here that we just don't see them except at BGG Con, which is like, wait, what?
Yeah, why don't we see you more often?
Exactly.
So we got a lot of gaming in while we were there, and then the following day, there's a house con, I think is a good way to put it, right?
It's just some friends getting together to play.
Yeah, our buddy Dave puts us on Labor Day, and what we call the Texas crew, the guys who run the board game group, they on Facebook, they come up, and that's Mo, Lyndon, and Brian, and it's always fantastic to be able to hang out with the fellas and just
We go down for a day. Dave cooks, and we just hang out all day. And
smoke some killer brisket.
Oh, yes. It was
that
so
was
good.
Fantastic.
With his wife made baked beans with Dave's own cured bacon.
Dude, best baked beans I've ever had in my life.
Amazing.
Bar none.
Yes.
Just really good. It was missing my barbecue sauce.
It was, but those baked beans, kind of killer.
Almost could make like a sauce for the brisket with the baked beans.
You could.
You eat a bite of the brisket along with the baked bean. Yeah.
We could sell the baked beans and the barbecue sauce. Yes.
Yeah, totally. So talking about all these games that we've been playing lately, there's, everything from No Caboose, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, as well as Mini Rails, Time of Crisis, a couple of games that we played at TatankaCon, which is the house con.
Yes.
The Cost, or the Asbestos game for working title,
right.
The prototype.
I like The Cost.
Pacific Typhoon, Confucius.
I played a Age of Steam Sicily map while you were playing Confucius.
How'd you like that?
It was pretty...
Because that's a 3-player only map that came out from the Winsome, right?
And I am notorious for just losing horribly at an Age of Steam game the first time I played, especially. But I don't know what it was about this one, but I steamrolled everybody. Brian had max shares, I want to say there were still 3 turns left, so...
Not good, Brian. Good.
He was having some trouble. Whew, but that's me normally, on a first play of an Age of Steam map, but...
Congratulations.
Why, thank you. It was really... It's funny, it's not production, it's protection, because you're in Sicily. So exactly. So the only way you can move...
I'm going to make you an offer.
You can't refuse. So if the only way you can take black cubes out of towns is if you have protection to be able to take those and deliver them.
Which is that special action, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed that.
It's interesting. I did. Yeah.
Good. All right. So let's go ahead and roll into it. I see no reason not to. You want to talk a little bit about a couple of the games that we wanted to highlight?
Sure. We'll talk about The Cost first. That's the newest game from the Board Game Group guys. They have quite a few under their belt, and this is the newest one. It is about asbestos farming and mining.
Or asbestos mining, right? Because it's a naturally occurring, which I didn't know
either.
this until...
I thought it was
it's insulation that you can't use anymore because it will kill you. You see the mesothelioma commercials, right?
I just pictured the Pink Panther insulation. That's what I think asbestos is. I don't know why. I'm sure it's not, but
it's pretty interesting that this is actually a natural occurring thing that countries mine.
Yes. So in The Cost, you are a company of your own, and you go to different countries around the world. There's 4 of them on the map, and you mine the asbestos. You transport it over the rail that you buy and build. You export it via your ports, or you can also refine it in that same, in the same country or in a different country. You can do all of these things safely and pay a lot of money, or unsafely and you kill a worker.
Which it's represented by a dead canary, that there's actually a cost benefit for your country or for your corporation, because safety is expensive. PPE, personal protective equipment, is expensive. And if you don't have to do it and it helps your bottom line, then why should you?
Yep.
However, every time you kill workers, it reduces demand. And then eventually the country gets completely regulated, and that country is no longer available. All the infrastructure that you and other players have built up has been completely closed off, and that whole quarter of the board is no longer available for players' actions. So all that time, money, and everything that you've invested in this country is gone.
It's gone.
It's just wiped off the board because it's regulated. Okay, this asbestos is no longer. It's too dangerous. So the government says, no more of that.
We don't want any more of that.
And so I dig. Not only is this a heavy euro that requires just a ton of planning, however, it also has this cost benefit analysis that you have to do with this really dark theme.
I mean, it's macabre for sure,
but it's also realistic because these countries or these corporations that go into second and third world countries that try and take advantage of this, I think it's a fascinating idea. And you know me, I love these offbeat, quirky, dark, however you want to phrase it, these themes. And I got utterly destroyed in this game.
And I was the destroyer.
Yeah, Amanda being on her, you were on fire.
Yeah. What is it with me and these logistic games that are like bad material, like opium, asbestos?
But obviously it's only a prototype, so we don't want to go too much into this. I just want to say, obviously these guys are our friends, and they know that we're going to give them constructive feedback, which we did during playing it. I mean, it's a prototype, right? However, the bones there and the majority of the game,
it's got good bones, really. Yeah,
I'm really excited at the idea of hopefully this, they're able to bring this to a publisher and get this out on the market, because I not only dig the theme, but I love the long-term planning, the logistics, and the mitigation, the tactical mitigation that you have to do based on what actions are available to you during your turn. We'll talk about it more if and when more comes of it. But definitely really enjoyed the cost.
Very much.
Which also, gotta say, I do dig the name.
I really like the name.
The cost. Is it a human cost or is it? Very clever. Well done, fellas. Well done.
Yes. I don't know if it's nationwide, but it's definitely Colorado, Texas area. There's one law firm that handles a lot of mesothelioma cases. It's James Sokoloff Law Firm. So Brian and I were joking the whole time that the game was brought to you by James Sokoloff.
That's dark and darkly fun, macabrely
fun.
Dark comedy, right? That's kind of
what me and Brian do.
Yeah, right. As you do.
Yeah. So at WBC, you played Pacific Typhoon.
Hate that game.
Whatever.
I'm just bitter that I had a chance to make the World Board Game Championship final.
But my point is,
damn die rolls.
The Eulers and this game and die rolls, we don't get along in this game.
That's all right. I made up for it earlier today in Time of Crisis,
so good.
That was good.
There's good. Okay. I had the chance to.
Well, hold on. Give folks a little context on the game before
before I complain.
Hold on. You just talked about having won in the cost, having steamrolled in Age of Steam.
I lose so often that whenever I do, okay.
No, you don't. No. You win your share, so I don't want to hear it. Hush.
Pacific Typhoon is a trick-taking World War II game, which sounds funny.
That was part of the appeal to me because it's such a wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. But you're presented with two events. It's two battles that the active player chooses which one you want to battle, which one you want to do. You choose whether you're going to fight day or night, whether you're going to fight air, surface, or sea, or combined even. And those are the big battles. And then what year you're going to fight it in. That's on the card itself.
Which is on the actual battle card itself. Yeah. And it's all trick-taking, right? It's all victory points based on what cards you win.
You're either Japan or the Allies.
Everybody has a hand of cards in which everyone's going to play one or possibly multiple cards, depending on what cards you're going to play or if cards can chain off of one another. And then at that point, players play in turn order, and you're either playing on the side of the IJN, the Imperial Japanese Navy, or the Allies. And players play one or multiple cards, and then whoever has the higher strength value of the battle, whether it's the IJN or the Allies, that's who wins that battle. Whoever played the highest strength value on the winning side takes all the spoils, which the spoils are all the cards from the losing side, and then they get to hand out evenly all the spoils So,
including the event you played.
Correct. The battle card itself, which can be as many as maybe 7-8 points. And so here, I have to hand these out. Okay, there's 3 of us that were on the winning side. Here, Amanda, you get a 0-point card. Here, Brian, you get a 1-point card. I'll keep the 7-point card. Oh, there's a 4th card? Well, I can't distribute this evenly, so I get to choose who this goes to?
Oh, me.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of politicking that can go on. Like, hey, if I'm last, all right, I got some really good IJN cards that I could probably jump in on the IJN side if I need some help, though. Anybody willing to help me? And so you, not really negotiation, but kind of.
No, but just table talk.
Yeah, politicking. Now, this game plays, I think it's 3 to 7. I think ideally it's probably 4 to 7. I will say that I really enjoyed our play of it again.
Yes.
However, playing at 7 players, in which 6 of the players are not, or are first-time players, maybe not the ideal situation.
It took like 2.5 hours.
Which is way longer than it ever should take.
It wasn't miserable, though. It was still fun.
No, absolutely it was. And it sounds like we turned a bunch of people onto the game, which is cool. The good news here, Pacific Typhoon, out of print.
Yes.
The first edition, which this is based off of, which is Atlantic Storm, way out of print.
Yes.
However, there is a second edition of Pacific Typhoon, a reimagining kind of, or reimplementation of the game, is coming out either later this year or early 2018 from Lock and Load Publishing. So you can always go back to the WBC daily diaries and listen to me giving a pretty thorough rundown on what happened.
You talked about it really a
lot. So.
Yeah.
So now go ahead and whine.
Okay. All right. Whining shall commence now. So there's 2 stories that I want to tell. The first one is I got the Atom Bomb in my hand, which is one of the cards that you can play to fight the event. Okay. So I held onto that card and I waited and I waited and I waited to the perfect opportunity.
Because you had that early on in the game, right?
Very early. So I played it out. I was going to just massacre and get all these cards. And then Ash played this card where it flipped the
time of day
to where it made it to where anything that was played in the original time of day was negated.
Which that is a day card, so now it's in illegal play.
So I had to take all of my cards up and just discard them.
Woe is you.
Yeah. It was a sad state of affairs.
Because it would have won you, provided you had an 80% chance or so of it getting you about 5 points.
Yeah.
So the second one, I'll tell it from my point of view if you don't mind,
sure.
and then you can whine. Okay. The Allies had a massive advantage, whereas the IJN, you guys had 4 die rolls between you that you needed 15 points to be able to tie 16 to win the battle. And it was for a ton of points because everybody else ganged up on you and Mo. Well, Amanda has 2 die rolls. She rolls. Boxcars. What? So 12 of the 15 needed. I'm sorry. You needed 16 to tie, 17 to win. All Mo had to do was roll 4. 2 and 2, 1 and 3, or higher. And what did he roll?
I just saw a 1.
Yep, he rolled 3. So you guys still lost by 1. It would have been a massive point swing. So what have we learned here?
The Eulers do not do well with dice rolls when other people are rolling the dice. In my case, in your case, when you roll the dice.
Or just Pacific Typhoon is terrible. Or second thing learned, don't give Mo the dice.
Yeah. Dave lives out in the country, and he likes to keep the windows open. Whenever Mo rolled those dice, I think it's possible that the llamas down the street heard me scream.
The ones that yell at the passing cars?
The ones that yell at the passing cars, which is awesome, by the way. Yeah, I was so mad. But hey.
But overall, did you enjoy Pacific Typhoon?
Yeah, and as much as I hated the losing bits of that, it makes for such a good story, and it made for a lot of enjoyment of the game just in general, just the irritation and I haven't felt like, oh my gosh, the die roll. And
right, stand-up die roll, right.
in a very long time, and I did then. It was just fun.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. So that was pretty much the end of TatankaCon. And then, and then I laid in bed all day the next day because I've been sick since.
Yes.
Boo. All right, so we got something different for y'all. We had a great group of folks this week, and after Labor Day weekend, we figured, since we played so much together, why not have them join us on the show, right?
Yeah.
So the next segment, it was me.
And me.
And Tony. And Claker.
Yeah.
And we actually talked about a couple of games. We talked about No Caboose and talked about mini rails after having played them at least once, if not a few times between us over the course of the weekend. So we thought we would go ahead and give y'all all of our initial impressions or maybe final impressions, as it were, on some of those games. So hope you all enjoy it. All right, so here we are. Just finished our live stream of Mini Rails and figure since we got you guys together, I mean, how often do we get a chance to have the Tony back?
Oh, my.
Oh, my. So it's myself, Edward, obviously.
Amanda.
And Tony.
And Matt.
All right. So Matt being Claker, right?
Matt.
So because of the conventions that we recently attended, whether that's BCon/Conclave of Gamers, which is a local con here in Denver, or Amanda and I also hit up TatankaCon, which is a house con that a friend of ours puts on. We figure, we've gotten a lot of first looks of new games and figure, why not? Let's touch base on a whole bunch of these, right?
Sure.
So, you want to go and lead off, T?
Sure. So we just played Mini Rails, as you mentioned. You wanted to start there?
Yeah, I think that'd be a great one.
Super clever game, man.
It really, 2 decisions.
It's crazy.
That's all you got.
It's amazing how much complexity you can get in 2 freaking decisions.
Up here complexity.
Yes.
I'm pointing to my head.
Yes.
Right. But see, now here's my thing, though. Anytime there is a game that is this simple, which, again, you have 2 decisions, right? So it's not complex mechanically, right? Anytime there's a game that is boiled down to this core one, just real simple thing, I always am scared whenever I play this and I really enjoy it because I'm worried that, wow, this is super clever, but do I get lost in the cleverness and maybe there's something here in the game that there's actually a one strategy that is dominant that I just can't see through the cleverness. And I feel like an idiot. Oh, I should have seen that. So I'm not saying that's the case here, but that's always my fear.
Especially with this game, I don't think that there could be, honestly, something that you can do every single time because the board changes every single game.
Well, that and the investments in the order of
and
investments.
the turn order, right? There's so much of the game is on the turn order track.
Yeah.
And as you make your decisions, I want that color disc, but I don't want to be my next turn happening so front loaded. I need to go. I need the hammer. I need to move.
Right.
So it's a lot of complexity.
It's not just what color disc you want. It's also where do you want.
When
to
do
play
I want to go next turn?
Next turn.
Yeah.
And we're tossing around the word complexity, so let's be clear that this is the heavy cardboard thinky filler category, and it's kind of SNCF weight.
Yeah, it's definitely very low on. I literally 2 choices. You either invest in a track or in a stock, or you use that same disc to lay track. Right. That's it. That literally is your only decision. But the things that you're taking into account is both the current share value, plus who else has invested in it, plus what actions are available to the other players. Have they already invested to where they can't invest and they must lay track next time? So within those 2 decisions, there's a whole lot to look at around the board and things to keep track in your head.
Yeah, in those 2 very simple actions, they managed to pack in some good decisions with all the things going on. And in what, like an hour's playing time?
Oh, God, no, not even. I would say off the stream,
Half an
20
hour.
minutes,
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Yeah,
I'd say probably 30 minutes. In a 4-player, maybe another 5,
A little
6
longer than
minutes.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played it at 5, and it was definitely tighter.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely does. It scales because of the fact that the discs, how many discs are available within the bag that randomly are pulled each round. Those get changed based on player count. The map itself doesn't change outside of, with 3 players, you have 3 discs that are pre-seeded on the board for each company. But other than that, it's definitely more constricted at 5.
For sure.
And maybe a little bit more chaotic because you have more actions in between your actions potentially. But I played it at 4 and 5 and enjoyed the game at both.
Yeah, this was my my 4th time playing the game, and what was interesting is I spent more time looking at what the other players were doing. Right, after you agonize over your decisions, you have to factor into that. Well, okay, what actions do they have left? Because it's conceivable, because of the way the turn order works, that maybe Tony has 2 actions left after I take mine. So what is he going to do? Or he only has 1, so I know what he has to do. And it's that adds a whole nother layer of to the game. So
As Sweater Mike likes to say, not only play your own game, but you're having to play everybody else's game as well.
It's true.
Yep.
Terrific game.
Yeah, I definitely. I'll be honest. I mean, I'd feel comfortable saying this is a phenomenal thinky filler.
Yeah.
This is one that I would say, for within the scope of what the game is, it has the potential to be a 6. I feel like for a filler within the scope of what it is.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah,
For me, it's going to be trending like 5-wise.
Okay, all right, that's fine.
Time will tell. That could be a 6.
Sure. Right, but that's still for an initial rating, a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, it's pretty
that's
good.
Pretty strong.
That's after a handful of plays.
5.
For sure, 5. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it could be a 6, but definitely a 5.
I think for what it is, it's again, it's so simple. It's quick setup. It's quick teardown. Boom, you're up and playing in 2 minutes.
This would definitely be a good contender for, like a gameplay streak. That you're tired, you don't really want to play really anything too difficult, but you can play mini rails in half an hour.
As long as because mini rails plays 3 to 5. As long as you have 3 folks available, then totally.
Exactly, right.
I think so. Good call.
Very cool.
All right, so that is Mini Rails by Mark Garretts and Moa Ideas.
So you guys want to talk about No Caboose?
Yeah, well, we should.
Okay. Amanda, have you played it?
I have played it. I played it with Ash and Edward.
Okay.
When we were learning the game.
Yeah, it was a learning game.
And we didn't play the whole thing, so kind of.
Later on that day, so we played that early at BCon.
Right.
And then later on, in fact, all 3 of us had played it, and we were like, we played it 3-player, so only half of the companies are available in the game.
I see.
All 6 shares are available, but only 3 actually lay track on the board. So we felt like it was a little constricted.
Seemed a little weird.
It did. And so after that, when Amanda had to leave because she wasn't feeling well, Ash and I both jumped in, and we were like, I definitely want to play this again. As soon as possible to be able to get a better feel for it, play with 4 or 5.
Right.
And that's where I was like, hey, we had some time. You guys want to try this? And y'all were like, sure, we'll give it a try.
Yeah, so it was me and you and Kleiker and Ash, right?
And Ash, yep.
Yeah, the game did not leave a positive impression on me.
And I don't think it really left a positive impression on any of us in hindsight.
I know it didn't with me.
Okay.
I am not a fan of those cards.
Should we give some context first?
Sure.
I feel like,
Probably.
so in No Caboose, players are working more or less as investors of stock companies or for train companies in which they're going to be investing and laying track in
the eastern United States.
Right,
Eastern half.
to benefit these train companies. And so at the beginning of the round...
It doesn't benefit the companies at all,
That's
laying track.
That's the issue.
In theory, okay. As the flavor text says, in which you're going to be laying track for these companies to benefit these companies. So the actual mechanics of the game, you're going to start out to where you're going to get dealt, depending on player count, let's assume 4 players, 6 cards per player. You're going to, from a number of different area decks that represent the different regions.
And you get to choose which ones you want.
And you get to choose, I want 3 in the Mid-Atlantic, I want 2 in the Southeast, however mix you want. Of those 6 cards, you get to keep 1 of them. They're going to show the route that's possible between 2 areas, and companies must continue. It must be contiguous track for a company in which you choose to lay. You're going to get paid in a share as well as cash for building this track and investing in this company, helping this company. Then at that point, we build the track after everybody has drafted. We pass the decks around. And then after that, you're going to actually build the track. Then after that, there's going to be a random...
Well, when you build track, you're going to get 1, maybe 2 shares of 1 or 2 companies even, and a little bit of cash.
Right.
Yeah.
And then with that cash, you're going to then invest further into these 6 companies that are in the game. After you can buy and sell shares just like normal. One player does all their actions, then it goes on to the next player. Then at that point, you're going to roll a die based on the market forecast.
Yes, there's an economic climate card.
Which you're going to roll, and the climate will change or stay the same depending on the current existing climate, whether or not it tends favorable or tends negative.
Yeah, it's a 6-sided roll, and it's weighted into the different categories.
There's a deck of cards which, depending on what the economic environment is, will dictate on this random draw what will happen both as far as dividends as well as the actual share price. So there are 6 companies. You're going to draw 6 cards and flip them over one at a time. This happens to be an O. This happens to the pen. This happens to this one, so on and so forth for all 6.
It creates the variability within the market for each individual company.
Correct.
Right.
And then after that, you pass the first player or the priority deal if you wish, and then do that until either both, I believe it's Chicago and St. Louis are connected via rail, or if 2 of the companies have laid all their track.
Correct.
So that's where it goes. I'll be honest, we haven't made it that far in either game.
Yeah. So this game bills itself as a serious game, quote unquote, of cutthroat railroad building and stock manipulation, quote unquote. Those are from the box and the BGG materials,
right?
And stuff
as
like
well
that.
as the rule book, right?
And since my departure from heavy cardboard, I play games of all weights. And this game is still not to my taste. And that's because of its random features coupled with its length. Right? Those 2 things just don't work for me. And I don't mean this bad against the authors of the game, because they're probably wonderful people, I'm sure, right? This is an opinion on some art.
But at the same time, I think what you say is 100% spot on. The amount of randomness that is involved in this game, when you match it to the game length, doesn't match. They're inverse of one another.
The point of me wanting to talk about No Caboose is that if there's another person besides me out there, and I'm sure there are, that are lovers of cutthroat, serious games that are cutthroat rail building and market manipulation, I want them to know of my experience.
Which I think people want to hear that, absolutely.
You know, the drafting of the cards that you mentioned. There's no tension in that. You see, there's no engines being built here. And so there's nothing for me. I'm tactically drafting a card. And I'm looking at a lot of cards to pick one in so doing. Because I'm just looking to lay a rail somewhere in a company whose share I might want for some reason. More on that in a second, right? So I can't look at what Amanda has in front of her, and say, well, I can't let her have this card, right? There's no hate drafting. There's no, I really need that card for my engine. There's no tension in the draft at all.
And there's no planning for the future. You can't hold a card back like, okay, I want to be able to build this later, so I'm going to build to this.
Yeah, you have to do it immediately. And the problem that I ran into specifically when we were playing just 3 players is there were multiple times when I could not draft a card because nothing could be built. And all of the ones that I received, I could not do anything.
And the inverse happened to me. There were several rounds where in the starting hand, I got the card I wanted, I put it down, I passed the cards, and there was no card I was going to get that was going to change my mind, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of work for a single card that, that really, in most cases, was an obvious choice. There was this idea, though, that I could maybe gamble a little bit and keep a card that couldn't currently be connected with the idea that somebody else might connect that. But it's such a risk.
Mm-hmm. And there's such a small payoff for
such a small payoff.
Well, this is a 2 or 3 hour game, and the draft was about 50% of our time.
I'd say.
Right. And
for no decision.
Yeah.
No. And honestly, towards the end of our first game, or our second game, what we ended up doing is just, you know what, pick your 6 cards, draft one out of that, and boom, done. And all of a sudden, oh, okay.
Yeah, that might be better.
Yeah, that's what we found it was.
Contributing to the lack of tension in the draft is that when you lay a stick for a railroad, it doesn't really do anything for that railroad other than earn you a stock of the color of stick that is, right? So a railroad, any railroad is just as good as any other railroad. If this railroad has a very small network, or if this railroad has a very large network, there's no difference with those companies. Those companies don't have a president. So it's not like, oh, Edward's running this company, and he's an experienced player. That company's probably going to be pretty good, versus this is Matt's first time. That company might struggle a little bit. There's no tension in the companies, right?
With one exception, and that is as you increase the amount of rail that a company has, it makes it harder to affect the stock price. Because if a company has 8 rails, you would have to play, what is it?
You have to purchase 8 shares.
8 shares to
buy.
increase it, which actually to me seemed counterintuitive, because the more successful the rail is, right? In other words, in our game, there was a company that had 2 rails. And that seemed to be the big power company that people were vying for, because it was very easy to manipulate the stock up and down.
I'm going to take offense at the word manipulation, because for most of that stock chart, the value, the manipulation is this. When I buy or sell that max value, I'm going to change the price of the shares by $1 or $2.
Yeah.
It does become $5 later and stuff like that, but we actually didn't have a stock go up that high.
No.
It was always $1 or $2. And the only time it mattered, and I think as actually you, I had $20 and I wanted to buy 2 blues at $10, but you did, making it go to $11.
Yeah.
And now you can't buy it.
That is not manipulation.
Fair enough. Okay. Let me rephrase it. You affect it.
Yes.
To some, perhaps.
Yes.
Right.
But that is not manipulation.
Right.
Yeah. So the economic climate card, and then those cards that you were describing, Edward, that you turn over to see what happens to the companies, right? Like, this plays into, again, there's no difference between the companies. So first of all, the economic climate will be randomly determined. For example, we were in we were in a boom. So there's a 50% chance of a panic. Cool, well, I'm going to sell down some stock here to minimize that risk, right?
Sure, which makes total sense.
If it goes into panic, things might go down. I can rebuild my portfolio potentially next time.
Right, because now you're flush with cash,
put some money in
the stock is cheaper. Sure.
Well, Matt really outplayed me because he rolled a 6, and we stayed in a boom, and I was ruined, and he was not.
And I laughed.
Yes.
Very hard.
Those aren't decisions, right? And then when you flip over those cards, it's like, okay, cool. This company's going to pay $1, $2, $3 per share dividend.
Per dividend.
It's going to go up 0, 1, 4. It's going to go down 2, 4. It's just completely random. The stock isn't going down because
of
that company's
actions.
Outlook. Right, is not right. Like, oh my God, Chad runs that company, and he's only got a 2 train. I need to sell everything.
Right. There's a panic because there's no faith in the actual company's leadership,
or it was affected by the gameplay in some way. Right. There's no correlation to what's going to happen. Now, the market thing didn't bother me quite as much as you did, because there was a trend to it. So you could see that, in a good market, it would trend a particular way. The thing that was a bummer was that how it affected, so you knew as a whole there were a greater chance that the market would go one way or the other based on the trend, but the differential between the individual stocks was completely absent. You have no way to know,
N&W is going to be worth more than C&O.
Right.
It's completely arbitrary.
Yes, yeah.
And it's not a trend, it's a probability.
Yeah.
Right? And the die still has all 6 faces.
Sure.
And to me, I liken it to, and I've never been in this position, thank God, but like an infantryman when you're being shelled. Hiding behind one rock is just as good as hiding behind another rock because you don't know where the shells are going to land.
Right.
They're shelling over there, I'll move over here. Well, they can still shell over here, right? It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to the investment. And so
Yes.
That really, really, really rubbed me the wrong way.
And I think it did all of us, honestly. The fact that you want your decisions to be meaningful and to affect the game state, and that was absent.
Monopoly's a roll and move. This is invest and roll.
Yeah, and I would think that my main issue with the game is that I don't want to spend hours. If this was 20 minutes, okay. I don't want to spend 2 hours and my entire portfolio gets smashed because a panic happened or because we stayed in a boom like with you.
You are absolutely right. If this was a 20-minute game, let's play it.
Yeah.
Totally.
2 hours?
But, okay, so here is...
3?
Yeah.
Right.
It's what it says, 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah,
in the materials, it says that lasts 2 to 3 hours.
So, okay, since we're doing a direct comparison, just in not a direct comparison, but the fact that we're talking about 2 completely unrelated games, but here in the same show, we have Mini Rails, plays in roughly half an hour, whereas this plays in 2 to 3 hours. The fact that even if that played in 30 minutes, I don't see a purpose in playing the game where my decisions don't directly affect anything that actually happens within the game. So what are we doing? It's an activity.
I feel like at that point it's more like a family game. You play with your mom.
See, no, and I take umbrage with that because of the fact that you can play something like a Mini Rails with non-gamers and there be meaningful decisions that affect the actual game state, whereas in this, this is more akin to the mass market games that were available back in the day, whereas I understand what they were trying to do, the fact that you don't have perfect information and you can't completely control the stock market, but at the same time, I feel like my decisions had no impact on any of that. So I would much rather play with, whether it be someone's mom or whatever, something where their decisions have impact.
Little Devils, which I play with my mom. She loves it, and she's good at it. So graphically, the game, I put it at a winsome level because some things are even a little bit above the winsome level, but some things are below the winsome level graphically. And when you combine that with, this game has a price of $67.99. I just think that's ridiculous. There's labor, love, and components notwithstanding, there's $0 of game in the box.
I have a hard time attributing value. What is valuable to one person is not to another. Or $100 game is fine to someone. That is outrageous to someone else. So would I pay that amount of money for this game? The answer is no.
Right. For that amount of money, I expect something to happen between my ears.
And there wasn't enough here.
Right.
100% agree.
Rating-wise, this is a heavy cardboard scale of 1. Burn it with fire. Please, God, don't even sell this game to somebody else.
A 1.
Yeah, a 1.
And it's just not. It's not what we look for in games. It's not us. It's a game. No, I feel like the game has some serious shortcomings here, and completely across the board, cannot recommend no Caboose. All right, so Tony, you got a chance to check out the newest edition of Modern Art.
I did, sir. It's pretty recently released.
I think so.
Yeah, by Simon, Clumini or not. And it's a fantastic edition of the game. I think it's the best legal edition of modern art.
So, because there were bootlegs there's like a Brazilian one. These might be legal.
I don't know.
I'm sure they are. They're just published in different countries, right? I'm sure it's legal. So, what makes this new CMON version of modern art?
Well, number one, it is modern art. It's not stamps because it's not modern philately. It's modern art.
Yeah, but the stamps edition, I
still
want that version of this game. So if anybody listening, if you have a copy of stamps,
our PO box is in on our website.
There you go.
Right on. The artwork in this copy, in this edition, is fabulous, man. Like, it blows the Mayfair edition away.
Well, okay.
Really, really
now,
does.
artwork is subjective.
Again, yes, that's my opinion of the artwork, but I do like modern art. Art.
Okay. All right.
As well as the game.
All right.
The cards are big. They're bigger than tarot size. So you're not going to be able to sleeve them, I guess.
No, that's fine. Whatever.
But they're really high quality, and they look great standing on the easel.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's really...
So the game comes with an easel?
Oh, no. But, Michael's or whatever, you grab your easel for $1, and it's good. So I have easels in my copy of the game. And the money chits are good because I would say they're about 1 inch long and maybe 5/8 or 3/4 high, which is good because, there's blind bidding in the game, so you have to be able to put some chits in your hand.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But they're heavy cardboard. They're really thick. They're
I would
much
think
thicker.
it'd be easier to hold like bars instead of coins.
Yes.
Makes sense.
That makes sense,
they really work well for the blind bidding. And so I think that, for me, modern art's a 6 on the heavy cardboard scale. And I think that the production value of the CMON edition honors that 6.
Wow.
It's really, really good.
Nice.
You should check it out if you're looking for the game.
Cool. Modern art by Cool Mini or Not or CMON.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed both the gaming and the post-game chat with everybody.
Yeah, I think that was pretty cool. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it as well. And, you see we pull no punches, as it were, on all of that. All right, so the next segment was from our post-game roundtable discussion with me, Tony, Ash, and Kleiker from our game of Time of Crisis earlier today. So hope you all enjoy it. All right, so post-game chat. Let's.
You're the emperor. Go ahead.
Well, sort of.
And then you're the pretender.
Matt.
Yes.
This is a blast. This is very much a Waro, right? It's as much Euro as it is war game in that it's it has a lot of deck building involved, trashing cards, keeping a lean deck if you want to do that type thing, et cetera, et cetera.
And you should.
But for 4 players, for what realistically is going to be a 3.5 hour war game, fantastic. This was a blast. I had an absolute. Obviously, the company helps. Having the peanut gallery involved helps.
Yeah.
But we played this together Tuesday. The 4 of us. We played the short game.
Yep.
And it was phenomenal.
It was just as fun, yeah.
And we got to obviously see a little bit more with the pretenders and everything else, because more time, you get more time to do that. I thoroughly am enjoying this. But then again, I have roots in wargaming, so I'm inclined to want to enjoy this.
Okay.
Plus, it's ancient Rome, which I am a huge fan of.
Yeah.
And this was the most tumultuous period in the history of Rome.
It's when Rome should have ended, as you were saying.
So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it across the board. So Pretender?
So, this is a blast. This is my second play. The first play was the short version. I much prefer the long version.
I agree.
Because,
it's the full
because
game.
you do get to see.
The short's just for learning.
Well,
Or
by the
time
time you
period.
get to the end of the short is really when
Things
people
really
start to.
triggering.
I mean, we had definitely a turn where things went chaotic. People started going all over the place. Repeated attempts to unseat Syria, they failed.
We don't talk about that.
I will tell you though that despite the presence of dice, right, and everybody saw how I rolled. I mean, we were all tight. We still hung in there. The exploding die. All it does is it creates a little tension and a little insecurity about the result, but nothing is crippling.
Gives you opportunities to push your luck, like I did
It
here.
does.
Correct.
It does.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Otherwise, it's a
Foregone conclusion.
It is, because I have 2 cards.
Yeah.
I need 3 dice. I can't win. Whereas the exploding die
Right.
brings that
I
in.
love the deck building element of being able to choose my cards. A lot of deck builders, you
just
build
get
your deck
You're right.
and then you shuffle them, right? But here, I definitely get to, it's much more determined that way. I also like the fact that how you build your deck doesn't come from within the deck, right? The deck building points are a separate phase,
Yeah.
right? So you're not burning action points on that piece of it. So yeah, I like it.
Tony?
That's cool. Let's see. First of all, the combat system. I like this combat system because it is slightly weighted, obviously. And it's important in the game, but it's simple and clean, and it doesn't take center stage.
Yeah.
Which is important because what belongs in the center stage, I think, is the political system and the deck building and using these cards and the points that are on them to control empires or not, or provinces or not, if you're red. I think I did pretty good for having holding on to it.
I was amazed that you were able
Yeah.
to score as well as you did,
Yeah.
and you skipped 2 scoring rounds essentially.
I pointed out at one point when you didn't have any as it, and yet you're still
Yeah.
the leader.
Yeah.
For a guy like me, it's like there's a lot of randomness in this game, right? So like you're rolling on the crisis table. Some barbarians may come out. They may or may not affect you, and there's events that get played and things like that. But I don't mind them in this game because, as you can see, they do cause little temporary problems, but not big problems.
Right.
Like that, none of that's going to derail you.
Right.
And there's a great chance that those things are going to affect everybody during the course of the game. And I categorize that as the 5th player effect. Right? It's like another player really just doing some things in the Empire. And I think that's also important to the game because you can't just focus on the other players. You do have to, mind your back door and stuff like that too. So, I think it's a fabulous game.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record,
No,
I'm
you get your
really
time.
enjoying this game.
Yeah.
I really enjoy how you can kind of plan out your first couple of turns with the way you select your cards.
Yep.
I like how there's a delay in getting the cards you've purchased from discard back into your hand. And the dire need to... I mean, there's a pile of 1s over here. Y'all can't see it, but the cards we've burned, probably some people, most of their starting deck. And the need to keep a lean, what to me is effectively a lean command structure within your political apparatus and your military apparatus. You
I have 2
cards
two
left.
of my 9 remaining.
Mostly
And
you.
performing well.
You did win.
Right.
But trashing is expensive at 3 points.
Oh,
Sure
boy,
it is. You bet.
Not when you're the emperor.
Yeah.
That gives you so many points. That's a quick way to go ahead
Sure.
and burn, or do like what I had thought about was getting the pretender card because I figure I'm going to get unseated early.
Yeah.
Right.
I really enjoy how kind of swingy the game can be. I was thinking about earlier, in this game, you have to take risks to get ahead and know that someone's going to capitalize on the weak points you leave behind. And I love the kind of tumultuous nature of the game that those aspects create.
You can't protect everything.
No,
right?
you cannot. Right?
You move to Galatia, somebody's going to move into Syria.
Right.
You move to defend Syria, somebody's going to move into Egypt. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, yeah, it's good.
Let me paraphrase Kelly in 2 different ways here.
Okay.
Number one is there a color that's more or less useful than another color, do you think?
I don't think so because I feel like you need to do
need
everything,
all of
right?
them.
So take the blue. That's how you're going to get your governors out. You have to have that,
And
right?
recruit more.
Right. Your red, well, if you're going to either fight barbarians or try and weaken your opponents, you need red cards. And then for yellow, to be able to boost your support, you have to be able to do that with yellow cards.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I mean, obviously it's 3 plays,
Yeah.
so is one a little bit... I feel like they're all needed.
I agree.
Now, I
Yeah.
can't speak to the special abilities.
Well, I
of the
feel like that
cards.
could be situational. Like I felt like my yellow cards were not as valuable to me as my blue and my red.
You can't raise support in provinces you don't have.
The most provinces I ever control was 3, and then I only controlled really 2 and 1 for
Right.
a lot of the game. So I really, what I really was using my blue and red for is like being military, go around and do things, earn some points, and then be able to use my military to then use my blue cards and just be like a whack-a-mole for you guys.
Yep.
To try
Popping
to just
up
keep
here, popping up there.
right.
Yep.
But I did feel like my yellow cards were less valuable because of my circumstances. So then Kelly's other thing, the other paraphrase is, do you think there's or any of those more or less valuable, you think? Like, for example, I think the Tribune is exceedingly valuable to turn over.
Yes, it
Right.
stalls barbarians.
Right.
It depends on your strategy, right?
Yeah, it depends on your circumstances.
So I did the opposite of what Edward did, right? I focused on military. I mean, I had almost 11 points of military. I couldn't get to it because the game
Goodness.
ended, right? But to me, I mean, there's 7 points sitting there in the Nomads,
Yep.
right? There's 4 points sitting here. I mean, that's,
Sure.
you get to take that. That's a lot of points.
I feel like the Quaestor and the Castra weren't used to great efficiency this game, but that doesn't mean they're not useful.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the Quaestor did protect me on a vote.
Yeah.
It did
Right.
once. That's true.
And playing I don't know, I could ask you. I know you were going to invade one of my areas.
Oh yeah,
I
putting your
I-
Castra there protected Egypt for you.
Right. That means
Tony
some
putting
of
his Quaestor in Spain protected him. I
some
was
of their
going there.
value is hidden because
Sure.
I did that, or my Castra here.
Other things
Nothing
happen.
happened.
Right.
That's,
So
that's
how
what
do
I'm
you?
saying. Yeah.
How do you
get the- I
value
didn't
the
get to see
security
the
it
value,
brings?
you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, overall,
And Uwe says, like, I like that you always have to be prepared in the spirit of plan better. So
Yeah,
it's like,
and-
I need to pick the cards right now that I need to play after you jerks are done
After
thrashing
4
my
turns.
stuff,
Exactly.
potentially. Right?
now, and on top of that, if you keep an area undefended, you're taking a risk by not supporting this. And well, you should have planned better for the horde that may come and invade, right?
Unless you intended to not support it.
Fair point. But
Which I did a couple times.
but that was an intentional decision.
Yes.
That wasn't oh well, the dice screwed me.
And that's the one thing about turn order, having just gone fourth, right? You get to pick first, but who cares? But having 3 people ahead of you roll the event die, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? Because by the time it
Especially
got
if
to
you're
me,
drawing the cards at the beginning of the game
Yes.
before
Yes.
for your first turn. You're talking
absolutely, yes,
specifically,
for the first
right?
turn roll.
That's very
Events
interesting.
developed.
That's interesting. Huh. That's actually a fair point. I wonder if that's something that the designers intentionally did, or if that's something I haven't seen any discussion about that. The fact that, should you be able for your first turn draw cards before
After-
your first turn, but
Yeah.
after people's actions. I can't
The,
speak
for
to
instance,
that.
the first time that I played this game, it was taught to me by one of the local GMT group guys. And that's how we actually did play. Like, you didn't have to, on that very first turn, you didn't have to pick your cards until it was your turn.
And we did that in our learning game because otherwise you're like, oh, well, okay, yeah, if I'm third, I see 2 people, I see
Yeah.
that now it makes sense, especially in a learning
You see
game,
what's
that makes
doable.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
I would only ever modify that for the first turn, if then, because it really,
Right.
I mean, so in our example, I had 3 yellow, right? We had
Right.
talked about opening moves, and I said, I'm going
Right.
to try something, and I'm going to build an improvement.
And then,
And
I'm
the
so
event card
sorry,
was
the
increased the
inflation.
cost, right?
Right.
Now, I rolled a
Or
7,
here.
as I did, I think,
Yeah.
almost every
Right,
turn.
yeah. Well, that
and I
and 12,
changed
right,
it,
yeah.
right? So that was fine, but it is something to consider if you go last.
And Jason says Heavy Cardboard does it again, another live playthrough, which adds a game to the future buy list. Awesome to watch today. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Our job here, and I think you guys, we've said this numerous times, our job is not to sell the game. Our job is to show it in a real
Show
world
the game,
environment,
yeah.
what it's like in our game group. Now, obviously, we're more often than not going to feature games that we enjoy, but show it what it's like and let you make your own decision. And
Better informed decision.
yeah,
Hopefully.
either side of that, everybody's happy. Both the designers and the publishers, because you don't end up buying a game that you're not
retailers.
going to enjoy, right?
Exactly.
Everybody's happy. So, all right. So, do you guys want to give a rating? I'm curious. It's 3 plays in.
Yeah.
Okay, so go for it, T. So we rate on a 1 to 6 scale. So 1, light it on fire. A 6, Hall of Fame game, and somewhere in between.
Yeah.
No halves.
Yeah, I'm ready to talk about my trending rating, right? 'Cause
Okay,
I'm
sure.
not ready to say, oh, this is a X,
Right,
or
right.
an N in this case,
Right.
But this is certainly at least a 4. it could definitely be trending to a 5 if I continue to have this much fun playing this game.
Okay. I'll go ahead and wade into the waters. To me, this is a 5, potentially trending up.
Okay.
And the reason for that, I want to get some more plays in to see the balance and see how much depth of play there is after repeated play. I mean, the combination of the political aspects of the war and like you said, a very rapid combat resolution is welcome in the genre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's a solid 4. I mean, it's a great game. I will play it anytime it's brought out on the table. I really like kind of analyzing the opening moves, kind of like chess. You know, it matters.
Yeah,
it really does.
It matters on what cards are going to come back, right? I'm going to buy a card, and because there's 4 cards, I get to use it potentially, right? So, so super good, and I'll bring my own dice next time. Good suggestion.
For me, I feel like it's a pretty solid 5. I really enjoy that combat is not the determining thing. Like it's not the focus of the game.
It's one of the 3 legs.
It is. You have the political, you have the combat, and you have the deck building. I feel like in this, and I really, for a guy who burned out on Magic the Gathering back in the day and Dominion, I'm not super on board. I don't love deck building. However, I think it's a really clever use of deck building within a Euro hybrid.
It's real deck building. I mean, you have so much say in what cards you use.
Totally.
You know, there's no and I don't want to give the impression, because we're joking about the dice. Again, the luck factor in this game, even as bad a bloody nose as I took,
you still finished second.
Yeah, I did fine.
Right.
And honestly, these are opportunities.
As far as the crisis track you're talking?
Because
That's
I was
points.
going military, and my plan, the reason why I was fighting the nomads so much is because that's points.
Sure.
You know? I just wish I had the military cards at the very end to get some more.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So thank you, everybody, for joining us both live and after the fact. We really, really appreciate it. Especially, I mean, we're looking at 4 hours, 10 minutes or so for the stream.
I think with experienced players, this would play in 2 hours.
I think maybe 2 to 2.5 hours, I think, is reasonable. Big thank you to our sponsor, BoardGameTables.com. If you're in the market for a customized, one-of-a-kind board game table, go check them out, BoardGameTables.com. All right. I don't know what else we could have done better than that had we recorded it separately. So let us know what y'all thought about us just giving you all the post-game thoughts on that. I think that summed it up really well. And you get 4 points of view instead of just our 2 on a game like that. So especially having just played the game, I think that was pretty cool.
And yeah. And it also gives those that aren't familiar with our playthrough videos an idea of what we do after the game. Every
in the
single
post-game roundtable discussion, that pretty much is exactly what it's like at the end of every game. Now, maybe not that long,
maybe not that in depth, but there's not a playthrough that we don't do one of those.
Right. So if that sounds interesting to you and you haven't checked out the playthrough videos, check them out.
They're always linked in the show notes.
All right, so that's all we got for y'all this week. I'm going to now go lay down and watch some football.
All right.
And you're going to go edit, I guess. And then we'll have Brenner, right? Breakfast for dinner.
I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to that. All right, we'll catch y'all next week. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. You know, it just dawned on me that we didn't even mention where the name of the game comes from.
Yeah.
Everybody that starts in the game, or whoever the priority deal, or the first player, the actor, the president, whatever it is,
right?
investor.
Sure, the first player.
Certainly not the president.
Whoever's the first player has a card that says no caboose. It's a small card, just like the decks of cards that you're drafting. When the dealer passes his cards, he has to pass the no caboose card, because that goes to the last player in turn order to show how many passes have happened. And the fact that if you forget to pass the no caboose, whoever notices it can call out no caboose, and that player now has to give you a share of stock.
That's just awesome.
God bless them.
Very much like a mass market, like
back in the day
back in
game,
the day
right?
game.
Yeah, I think somebody mentioned sorry when we heard that rule,
Yeah,
right?
right,
And
or Uno.
yes.
Draw two.
Yes. Yeah.
Same idea,
And
same
we
concept.
probably forgot to talk about it because as soon as we read that, we said we're not doing that.
That has no place in a modern board game. Sorry. For what this game claims to be, it has no place in a game like that.